Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again in this YouTube astrological segment. I'm going to be talking about transit Chiron square opposition or inconjunct one's natal Mercury. Now, when we're talking about transits that involve Chiron, it can be about physical and emotional wounds, depleted self-esteem and self-worth, and also helping and healing others. Now, when transit Chiron is basically making an adverse aspect to the natal Mercury. Now, I'm going to elaborate on that when I say basically adverse aspect, okay? Squares and oppositions in astrology, of course, those aspects are negative and adverse. Now, when you're talking about inconjuncts, now inconjunct aspects, they're neutral, but neutral aspects can have good and bad qualities in them, and coupled with the fact that an inconjunct can often require an adjustment or transition, and that in turn can cause some exasperation and tension. And so, really, being basically collectively, I do see this as an adverse transit. But anyway, when transit Chiron, again, basically makes an adverse aspect to natal Mercury, well, it may manifest in physical and emotional wounds and suffering, depleted self-esteem and self-worth, and also helping and healing others. These things at this time may conflict with your communications. It can be something where you might be torn in terms of helping and healing other people, and in things that are just connected with your general communications, whether it's email, messaging, talking on the phone, or what have you. If natal Mercury is in Sagittarius, it could be philosophical discussions or conversations about religion or sports, or it's something where, again, when you have adverse trends, it's basically an adverse trends in this case, obviously can cause some tension, and it's really again, you might feel like you're torn between doing things for others at this time, helping and healing others, and your general communications. Now, Mercury is also connected with learning and assimilating information, so it can be a time too, if you're dealing with any physical related wounds or suffering, or even emotional ones. It might be harder to concentrate and learn and assimilate information at this time. If the natal Mercury, say, is in Taurus, you might be learning by having things demonstrated visually or very methodical or deliberate manner, and trying to Mercury in Taurus can have, I would say, as far as learning, really good powers of concentration. But if transit Chiron is making an adverse aspect to it, well, the physical and or emotional suffering may conflict with it to some degree, and make it harder to really focus on what it is you're trying to learn. Now, another thing too is that Mercury is also associated with short journeys and local transportation, so it can be something where there might be some issues, again, if there's any suffering you're going through, or might be challenging you taking that short trip. It might be harder to go to the store at this time if there's any physical suffering or physical wounds that you're dealing with. Could be just difficulty in just running an errand, simple errands for people at this time. And the thing about this is, if transit Chiron is in the 12th house, say, it can be suffering connected with isolation or solitude or seclusion. You might not, there might be things that you're just trying to deal with privately that's making it harder for you to go around, go out and about and make those short journeys at this point in time. It could, I would say too, there might even be something that is going on with the vehicle, your vehicle, if you have one, that might be causing some issues. And the thing about it is, Mercury is connected with short journeys. I would say it has a connection, of course, with driving and vehicles. And anyway, now anatomically speaking, Mercury is connected with the arms, hands, nerves, lungs, and breathing. And this could be a time, if you're dealing, if you have some other physical matter going on, it might make it harder to deal with these problems if you are, dealing with any of these issues anatomically speaking that I spoke of that is connected with Mercury. Or these issues might be harder to deal with and endure the pain. It might be harder to endure this pain at this time. There might be more suffering in connection with it at this point in time, more so than usual. And the thing is, this is also a, and again, I mean, when you have, if you have problems with, if there's anything with the arms or hands, that could affect you, in terms of doing a number of things. Even a, problem with the hand at this time, I mean, depending on how serious it is, could even cause, obviously it can cause difficulty in opening up, a bottle or something. It's just, but anyway, another thing is that, Mercury, what I want to say as well is that Mercury is also connected with breathing. So there might be issues with that might be intensified as if you're currently dealing with that at the time of this transit. Now, Mercury is also connected with early education. And it might be a time, maybe, if you had something where, there was, early, there were problems, maybe somebody from your early education that was prominent in it, like a fellow classmate, might be, conflicting with you trying to deal, with some emotional or physical related wounds at this time. Maybe this person is somehow increasing or exacerbating diminished or depleted, self-esteem or self-worth at the time of this transit. That's another way I would say this could manifest as well. And Mercury is also connected with siblings, cousins, and neighbors. So at this time as well, any physical related matter that you might be dealing with, maybe there's some weakness or ineptitude that you're dealing with in your life, some area you feel inept in, might be challenging your activities, with siblings, with cousins, with neighbors at this point in time. And transit Chiron at the time of this video, that making of the video, is in Aries. So it could be where siblings, cousins, neighbors, maybe they're more of a figurative headache, more so than usual. And if you're having transit Chiron, especially in the first, I would say in the first or sixth house, the first house is the physical body, sixth house is connected with physical related issues. There might be actual literal problems that you might be dealing with as far as headaches, migraines. That might be challenging activities, again, with siblings, cousins, or neighbors, people that were prominent in your early education, or even people that you know well in your short journeys. Now, another thing is, at the time, another way this transit may manifest, there may be difficulty in helping and healing others. It could be due to maybe some, it could be some issues, that are, that are connected with, might be some matters with communications. And let's say, for example, going back to Mercury in Taurus as an example, let's say it's in the 11th house. It might be, learning, which is Mercury, by having things demonstrated visually, which is Taurus. And it might be, something with astrology or computers or astronomy, electronics, because that's connected with the 11th house. Also, too, another way this transit may be expressed is that there may be physical or emotional wounds, which is Chiron, may make it difficult to take short journeys at this time. If Chiron in short journeys is connected with Mercury, Chiron, of course, could be connected with physical and emotional wounds. If Chiron is in Aquarius, say transit Chiron in Aquarius, there could be issues with the calves, ankles, shins, nerves, or circulation that might be causing problems, saying with driving, which could be connected with Mercury. Also, too, hold on a moment, people. Sorry about that, I'm back. But anyway, also too, depleted self-worth may adversely affect activities with siblings, cousins, or neighbors. If, let's say, for example, if the natal Mercury is in Aries, maybe there's some activities with these people that are associated with combat sports, or could be carpentry or welding, as some other examples. Um, Also, too, another way this transit may be expressed, it could be that the pain that runs deepest, which is Chiron, may have a negative or adverse effect on your communications at this time. Now, for example, let's say that the natal Mercury is in Sagittarius in the fourth house. It could be philosophical or religious discussions, or even conversations about sports or expanding horizons with the family, people you're close to home with, or even, could be the mother, the less dominant parent, which is often the mother, and those things, of course, are associated with the fourth house. But anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.